What many won't tell you is that building your dream life is impossible if it's not in service to something far grander than ourselves. My dream life used to be a canvas painted by society and coded in individualism. But now, at 26 years old, my understanding of fulfillment has shifted into one blinded by love. My true success is contingent on the village I gather, the hearts I care for, and the souls I uplift along the way. The greatest lie we've ever been sold is that individual gain will lead to true happiness. If my output here on earth does not serve you, my work lacks meaning. As we are all one, you and I, I'm building my dream life not just to nourish my own soul, but to uplift humanity. Because to nurture one is to nurture the other, so that we all rise together. Hi, soul friends. Welcome back to the sacred space. I am so excited for today's video because I am answering some of the questions that you asked me over on Instagram, and I'm excited to bring you a bit deeper into my world, to get cozy, get to know each other a little better. As I was reflecting on them, I realized how much they all kind of flow into this bigger picture of how I'm creating and cultivating my dream life piece by piece. These questions really sum up the ways in which I'd like to experience this lifetime and the intentional and holistic steps that I'm taking in alignment with that vision. Okay, shall we begin? I've never shared so much with the world before, but I'm very excited to tell you some things. First question, what are you doing for work? What did you study? And what are your passions? I'm going to answer this question in story because I think everything is better in story, and it might help you follow my journey a little bit easier. So I've always had a very deep-rooted passion for culture and social change, and since I was young, I felt this strong pull to be a change maker. I just knew that I wanted to change the world in this drastic, huge, never done before way. This led me to study global studies and public policy in school. I thought that, okay, if I understand the world and I understand policy, then I can enact change. And that was kind of the traditional route that I was headed towards. And while I was there, I had the opportunity to study abroad in Sevilla, Spain. It was amazing. I loved it so much. And I got to travel around Europe and also Northern Africa a bit. And this really helped me understand a little bit more about our systems, the people, and the cultures that shape our world. Do I have a boogie? I think I have a boogie. Okay. But during my studies, I came to realize that systemic change goes far beyond policy, and it's also about the stories we tell and those we choose to neglect. The cultural narratives that I was encountering were filled with gaps and erasures that mirrored the same systemic injustices that I was studying. I began to notice, specifically because of my own identity, the exclusion of Black stories, of Black truth, Black icons that was perpetuating this loss of identity and inequality. So I'm noticing all of these things. It's all brewing within me, and then the pandemic hit, and I'm pulled out of school just before I graduate. I had no job prospects, no clear path forward, and I was kind of left to just pick up all the pieces. And then the tragic death of George Floyd followed soon after, and it ignited this urgency within me to combat systemic injustice. And so I emerged from that stillness with a renewed focus, storytelling. And I had always been a storyteller at heart. I believe my first story was about a pickle who escapes the fridge in the middle of the night. And it's this whole journey about how I run into this pickle and my journey with the pickle. It's a good one, but I felt this undeniable push to create something that would combat chronic injustice and racism, but also empower and inspire future generations. And I just kept thinking, how do I start? How do I dismantle this huge issue that is so chronic and so deeply ingrained within society? And I thought, the children. Of course, the children. And so this led me to write The Tales of Camellia B, which is a children's book series that explores hidden and deleted global icons within Black history. It was really important to me that children have access to stories that accurately and holistically reflect their culture and their history, while also encouraging global unity, because these stories are important for everyone to know, just as much as I grew up learning a very Eurocentric history. I think it's just as important that we are all familiar with each other's history, with each other, know each other a bit. I don't know, it might help society. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, okay, children are reading, but they're also watching a lot of TV. So I began developing it into a cartoon series, which then led me to enter a developmental deal with Walt Disney Animation Studios. But when the project went on pause, I really had some time to reflect on its direction. And I realized that preserving the sacredness of this history was my utmost priority. And I felt that producing it independently would really be the best way to tell these stories authentically. And so this led me to create my nonprofit, the Project Reset Foundation. Through Project Reset, one of our core initiatives is to create programs for schools using advanced technology that can actually bring Black history to life. So students can actually travel back in time and experience history alongside the icons who helped shape it. I wish I had this as a kid. I really wanted to take storytelling beyond the textbooks and create immersive, meaningful ways for future generations to experience and learn from them. But all the while, I was immersed in this passion for storytelling and social change. I was struggling internally and externally. I had been dealing with deep, chronic, painful, unrelenting acne since I was about 12 years old, and it left behind severe hyperpigmentation and overall fatigue. I mean, no matter how hard I tried, I just couldn't see past it. And I tried everything and experimented with countless products which were filled with harsh abrasives and chemicals that were designed to correct my skin, but my experiences were horrific. I had severe chemical burns, I experienced instances of bleaching and just a deep damaging of my skin barrier, which made my acne and hyperpigmentation even worse. Super long story on that journey for another video, but long story short, in my search for solutions, I realized that the wellness industry just wasn't designed for people like me. The story of melanated skin just wasn't being told, and it wasn't being properly researched or given the care that it actually needed. The unfortunate reality is that mainstream wellness and beauty brands just don't take the time nor research required to heal our skin without these harsh approaches and toxins. And to me, it felt like if you did have skin concerns, you were navigating this lonely journey by yourself, just swimming through endless solutions without community support, and then falling into a cycle of self-criticism and frustration and so on. As my skin worsened during the pandemic, my mental health followed, and every time I looked in the mirror, all I could see was the acne, the scars, the hyperpigmentation. I no longer saw myself. I just saw what I perceived as flaws. And eventually, I just reached my breaking point because I felt like I was losing myself. I couldn't see past the experience that I was having. But as I was sinking deeper into my sadness, there was this itty bitty, teeny, tiny light in the distance. And it was a reminder of the healing power that had always been within me. Self-care had been my refuge since childhood. I grew up with a single mom, and I would help her take care of my little brother, which often left little time for myself. But in the quiet moments I did find, I turned to self-care as my sanctuary. With raw ingredients from the fridge and my mom's endless herb supply, I was just an alchemist, and I would create all kinds of herbal concoctions and potions and treatments and things that I would just slather my body in and slather my family in. But for me, these moments were much more than skincare. They were rituals for grounding and reconnecting with myself. I realized that my lifelong passion for wellness was much more than my individual journey to heal my skin. It was about creating a safe space where people just like me who felt unseen and unheard could gather and heal and reconnect with ourselves. Coming home to this revelation just lit such a passionate fire within me. And so I wiped my tears and I put my blue light glasses on and I dove deep into research. I began formulating ancestral healing treatments that honor the wisdom passed down from generation to generation and from Mother Earth herself. And that, my darling, is how Saka Essentials was born. What began as my personal struggle with acne and hyperpigmentation transformed into a sanctuary of everything that I hold dear: wellness, self discovery, cultural reverence, and community. It's so exciting. It's a movement, a radical communal act of discovering our bodies as miracles, nurturing ourselves inside and out, challenging societal standards, and building a community that uplifts one another. In a world where mainstream wellness and beauty overlooks our unique needs and our diverse cultures, or worse, takes from them without honoring and respecting their roots, this is my way of reclaiming that space. This mission is what inspired me to create on YouTube, to build this soulful space where we can all feel seen and heard and loved. It might sound crazy to say, but I just didn't realize that there were so many other human beings who had this deep well of love that they are projecting out at the universe. And to know that we are all doing that together and doing it back and forth at each other just fills my cup, to the brim. Every day I think about the ways in which I can bring nourishment into this community, all of the things that I can create to fill your cup the way that you fill mine. And so I invite you to join me on this journey, not just as an observer, but as a co-creator in a space where we can support each other and redefine self-care as this radical act of love and community nourishment. If any of these vibes resonate with you, you can also sign up for my love letters in the description box. I'm going to be using that space to share all kinds of goodies like wellness rituals, ancestral stories, playlists, poems, and other empowering reflections as well. I know this answer was deep, but if there's anything that I have learned from my journey is that if you don't know what to pursue, wildly and radically pursue yourself, and the right path will reveal itself. Okay, what am I reading? A lot. I'm reading a lot. So I found that reading multiple books at once really keeps things fresh for me. I have a very spontaneous, get bored easy spirit. And so I really like to pick a book based on my mood and like just what I'm kind of feeling in the moment. And that often leads to me reading several books at once. I'm reading 5 books right now and yeah, I'm loving it. It's so exciting. Every time I open one, I'm like, ooh, yeah, this is it. Because this is my reading behavior, it often takes me a while to finish a book, but I've accepted it and I'm okay with it. I think there's actually something beautiful about letting a book just beautifully linger in your life, like a slow burn for your soul. Because right now I'm reading some breathtaking reads. I nerd out about this, if you can't tell. First and foremost, turn to the source. Oh my gosh, this is the book that I did not know I needed. This book is a spiritual and emotional journey back to the motherland. It's truly a call for Black people all around the world to reconnect with their heritage and reclaim African-centered wellness. Okay, that's that, baby. This next one is currently my favorite book of all time. It used to be The Four Agreements, but this one has given it a run for its money. But this is the holy book for women. If you have not read this book, please read this book. I simply cannot say enough about this literature. But in short, it is a deeply spiritual book that helps you really reconnect with your instinctual nature as a woman. And it's powered through intercultural myths, stories, and fairy tales. I mean, every single line, I swear, is transformational. This has also just had such a grand impact on my liberation as a woman. Our instinctual nature as women has been clouded and over-programmed by society and the patriarch. I think this does a phenomenal job at dismantling that internally within you, and it just makes you see yourself a lot differently. I felt like I was kind of stepping out of the matrix with this one of like, oh wait, this is who I am. Wow, mwah, I can't say enough. The next book I just began reading, and I've been meaning to read it for some time. It's been on my list, but oh my goodness, was it worth the wait? Braiding Sweetgrass. This book beautifully weaves indigenous wisdom, botany, and environmental science in exploring our reciprocal relationship with the living world. For only when we can hear the languages of other beings are we capable of understanding the generosity of the earth and learning to give our own gifts in return. Come on. Everyone should read this. It is such a good book thus far. I'm also reading The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. I finally got to that one. It's also been on my list for a long time. I'm reading it as an audiobook. It basically explores creativity as a spiritual practice and reminds us that creativity is an unfolding journey and that everyone is a creator. I highly recommend to everyone and the mamas, everybody should read it. It's a beautiful book as well and a great reminder. And I'm constantly reading this one, Be Here Now by Ram Dass. This book, along with the Ram Dass podcast, just timeless spiritual teachings. I could do like a whole separate video. If you're into the journey within, I think that you would definitely absolutely love it. If you didn't know, now you know, I am obsessed with podcasts. I love consuming knowledge and having conversations that you just didn't know you needed that resonate so deeply. I love a conversation that just leaves me in awe. That I'm like, I need a month to allow this to integrate. That feeling is like orgasmic to me. I'm gonna put all my favorite episodes in a playlist on Spotify for you so you can dive into this richness. Right now, I'm circulating about 5 different podcasts. One is For the Wild. I actually just discovered this podcast and oh my goodness. It explores ecology, social justice, and resilience. I feel like it's a podcast about like humanness and our relation to all things that are. I don't know if that's a great description because I literally just found it. But yesterday, oh my gosh, I listened to an episode with Adrienne Marie Brown called Pleasure as a Birthright, and mwah, chef's kiss. And I told you about Ram Dass Here and Now. I play an episode from that one every single day, non-negotiable. And then my other favorite is On Being with Krista Tippett. It kind of dives into the big questions of life and faith and human connection. Every time I listen to an episode, it's always a conversation that I needed to have, needed to hear. I highly recommend that one as well. The last two podcasts I like circulating are Real Foodology, which is basically where food meets wellness. I'm a huge health fanatic, really into everything wellness. And so I love the conversations that she has on that podcast. Very much so about food being medicine and all of the things just really wrong in the food industry. She has conversations about regenerative farming, issues with glyphosate, things of that sort. That's like my jam. So like if you're into that, then you would absolutely love it. And then the last one I've been listening to is You're Wrong About, which explores misunderstood topics in a very eye-opening way. I recently listened to an episode on Ebonics, which was so good. I highly recommend, and I'll put that in my Spotify playlist as well. If you have any recommendations for books or podcasts, please send them my way. I'm always looking for ways to just expand and blow my mind, and I love diving into all of the goodness of knowledge and wisdom. That wraps up our Q&A today. Thank you so much for your curiosity and getting to know me a bit deeper. I am so grateful for our soulship and to be received so lovingly and gently. I'm sending you all the hugs in the world and all of my love, and I'll see you soon in another video. Till next time, bye! See ya!